Hi there, I'm Carolyn, trichologist at Absolute Hair Health Clinic. We help people with hair loss, hair thinning and scalp conditions, and today we're talking about male pattern baldness and a treatment. Okay, so there's a few very specific things about this particular treatment. Is to start with, he had quite a high recession, but he also, when he came to me, had physical hair loss. So you need to understand pattern baldness is anything that can happen in this pattern, so anything that can happen on your recessions, top, front, crown. Okay, and then we've got physical hair loss from the hair cycle. So male pattern baldness is a very, very gradual miniaturisation. It's not physical hair loss, but he'd had a rough time through 2021, which a lot of us had, and he was experiencing some hair loss when he came to see me. So what had happened, he'd lost volume over his entire head, but it had also accelerated the pattern thinning that he had already had in the background that had been creeping up for, I think he told me it had been at least 6 years. He had noticed that the recessions had been coming back through. The other thing was he wasn't really happy with his hairline, his recessions. So even if we could regrow what we could see was damaged, he was not happy. He was looking at having hair transplants anyway. So that's a key point here, is that we wanted to prepare the hair for hair transplants. So when you're using hair transplants, the donor site is the terminal area, so it's the back area of the head. But because he'd had hair loss, 50% of his hair had lost structure. So his donor site was not healthy. So if you go in for transplants, they physically can't use your donor site unless it's healthy. So that was what we were aiming to help him with, was to get the donor site and his general hair growing really well, stop the hair loss, regrow as much as we can in the pattern thinning area, so he could then go on and have his hair transplants. So we did some treatment. The time frame was 4 months. We've got our befores here and then our afters. Now this is a new treatment that we're using. It's called the Silver Kit. It basically replicates what you can do with PRP when you go and have sessions, but you're doing it in the privacy of your own home, and you're at a third or even a quarter of the cost. And it addresses both the hair cycle, which he had a problem with, and also the pattern hair thinning. So he still needs more, absolutely more to regrow, but for 4 months of treatment, it's quite spectacular result, I think. And the other things that we found looking at his blood tests, he had really low vitamin D, so it was contributing to both the pattern hair thinning, because it's a hormone in our body, and this is a hormonal type of hair thinning, but it was also contributing to the hair loss, of the reasons why he was experiencing the hair loss in the first place. And we found he had really high ferritin. So a lot of the time you hear me talking about low ferritin, but high means your body is storing the iron, and it can be just as dangerous. And again, the reason why he had the hair loss was stress and all sorts of things, and that was also contributing to. So you can get this thing called hematomacrosis, which can also disturb the hair cycle. So we had quite a bit going on. So we did use nutrition. We talked a lot about food, avoiding the hormones in the food and eating as well as he could. He got back onto diet and lifestyle, as well as the Silver Kit. So it wasn't just one thing that works. There's no miracle cures here, but what we have now is a much better donor site from the terminal area for him to go in and have transplants. Okay, so it's a really interesting story. We'll post these pictures up and a bit more information. If you need help, hair loss, hair thinning, scalp conditions, or can relate to this story, or you're looking at having transplants, let me check your donor site. I'm Carolyn at Absolute. We're in Brisbane, Australia, but we can help you in anywhere in the world. It's info@absolute.com.au.